Hi everyone and welcome to another Chrissy B Show special. A couple of weeks ago we did a whole show where we revisited our real life stories to honour them for being brave, for coming on national television to share their stories, their struggles and their experiences. To show you, our viewers, that everyone goes through hard times but that there is always a way out when we don't give up. And today we want to continue to do this. But we're going to focus on past stories that have to do with depression, bullying and self-harm. As I always say on this show, these are some of the topics that are very, very hard to discuss and talk about so openly, but it's important that we do because, you know, it can help someone out there who might be going through this kind of issue. But if you've missed any of those previous shows we're going to actually be talking about today, you can also head to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show, subscribe and also watch everything in your own time. Well, first up, it's the story we covered for Mental Health Awareness Week back in May, and it's that of presenter Mensah, who had some serious mental health issues growing up. Also, we're going to be hearing again Shad Ahmad's story. Now, he had a past with self-harming and also he did attempt suicide. And then we'll also be taking a look back at Anne Alagbe's story of when she went through depression as a child due to racial bullying. And finally, we'll check out the time when I met Charolotte O'Reilly, who talked about how she used to cut herself until it got to the point where she could no longer feel anything in her arm. And first up is the story of presenter Mensah. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you, my darling?
Fab, fab, fab. I'm really happy to be on the show with you today.
Now, I do have to say we have worked together before because we used to, she's also a fellow TV presenter and we used to be on the same program before I moved to do this show.
I know.
So she is our lovely presenter from, can you tell us about the show that you do?
I'm from DKW, otherwise known as A Different Kind of Woman, and we air every Sunday at 4 p.m. It's a women's program and it's absolutely fabulous. How, lifestyle, health, tips, you name it, relationships.
All right, I didn't tell you to advertise the program on my program, Jennifer. Anyway, but it's just to show you that, you know, I think it's important to mention that because you have turned your life around. So you were very depressed before, had serious mental health issues, but you are now presenting on TV.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that with the right help, with the right guidance, anyone can turn their life around.
Yeah, and you know, something that was mentioned earlier, that it is sometimes a stigma or taboo. Yeah. Many people themselves, they don't want to say that, you know what, I need help. I'm not mentally stable at the moment. I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling quite low mentally. And, you know, you just kind of isolate yourself and try and pretend that everything's going to be okay. But after a while, when it's not okay, then you start to beat yourself up and it's just a vicious cycle. You just sink even deeper. That's what happens.
So tell us where it all began for you, my love.
Well, my depression, that's what initially it started with, came alongside in my teens. And I was very overweight as a young person, and that brought about low self-esteem issues. So already, you know, I think at the time I was around 15, 14 years old and I was already a size 22, 24.
Really?
Yeah, so I was quite big, chubby for
But did you
my
have
weight.
some kind of eating disorder? Or
I did.
Okay.
And it was more emotional. So I was bullied a lot. Growing up, I had fantastic parents. My family were very, very supportive. They were kind of like my safety net, if I could say. But when I was outside the family home, when I'm at school or if I have to take part in some sort of youth activity, it was an absolute nightmare. I was bullied all the time.
Can you imagine? Kids are not very kind, are they?
They can be pretty mean at times. I was called all sorts. They used to fight with me, steal my stuff and hide it and all of that kind of stuff. And as I grew older, my coping strategy was home and food. So you have a horrible day at home, at school rather, you run home, have some great food, stay with your family and you just isolate yourself. And the more I ate, the more I comfort ate, the more I put on weight. The more I put on weight, the lower my self-esteem would plummet. And I remember there were times where I would buy tons and tons of teen magazines. I remember until today I had like almost a library of them stacked up against my wall, and I'll just flick through them and stare at the young girls, the models, one by one, and I would become more and more and more and more depressed, and then that's where it started to spiral out of control.
Okay, so how bad did things get for you? Because obviously that was already bad, having to face that at school. Obviously you were putting your health at risk as well because you were so overweight. So how did things get worse?
It got to the point where I refused to leave the house. So there were times where I didn't want to go to school. And then obviously that's a truancy problem. You know, you have to go to school. And I would lock myself in the house. So whenever we had holidays, it got to a point where I would not leave the house in my later teens. I would lock myself in the house. And I was very, very paranoid. The depression slowly turned into paranoia, because in my head it was like everybody's staring at me. Everybody can see that you're overweight, you're ugly, you're not meant to be here. And that paranoia
Not meant to be here, so you finished suicidal?
That's what I was just about to say.
Wow.
So the paranoia slowly led to me hearing these voices that perhaps it would be best if you weren't around. You're so ugly, you don't deserve to live. You shouldn't be here, nobody cares.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it got that bad. I remember I would stay weeks during the summer period just locked up in the house.
Doing what though? What would you be doing the whole day?
Shut the windows, sometimes daytime television and food, that's it.
So in the dark, did you close your curtains?
There were sometimes when I'll be in the dark and there were sometimes I'll be in the light, but I was absolutely petrified of being alone in the house, because I remember I was hearing these voices telling me that I wasn't supposed to be here.
Now, was it like, were they audible voices or just like thoughts?
Sometimes both.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes both. Sometimes
what was the voice like? So just to explain to the viewers at home, because for someone that hasn't experienced that, it sounds like
a bit bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, but what kind of voice was it? Was it like a female, male voice?
It was almost like I could hear my own voice talking to me, telling me that I'm not supposed to be here. You know, there's no reason why I should be here. I'm so ugly. I'm just not supposed to be here. I couldn't look at mirrors. Mirrors would freak me out. I would get really, really scared. I was even just telling someone earlier, between the ages of about, I would say 9 to about 16, I had no pictures of myself. I couldn't look at mirrors or pictures. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
It would make me physically sick. It would make me feel really, really unwell.
Did you ever attempt suicide? Or?
I remember one time I did, and thankfully my dad was around.
What happened?
We used to live in a tower block, and I remember one day I was so upset. I was on our balcony, we was on the 11th floor, and I was just staring over the balcony and I wanted to jump. I really wanted to jump, and I think my dad kind of noticed that, okay, why is she looking profusively over the balcony? Wow. And he came over and he was like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to die. And then he kind of talked me out of it and just took me back into the house and sat me down and took it from there.
Would you say that was your worst moment, Jennifer? Or
I wouldn't say, no, I think my worst moment was when the paranoia started to kick in. Because literally there will be times when I would be walking down the street and I thought everybody was staring at me. So if someone was on the same side as the road as me and they were like walking towards me, I'd have to cross the road. And I became very claustrophobic. If there were so many people around me, I couldn't take it. So for example, going out shopping in places where it's really dense with people and stuff, I couldn't take it because in my mind, everybody's looking at me. I've already got these voices telling me that I shouldn't be here and that I'm really ugly. And these voices are also telling me that everybody's looking at me and they're saying that I'm really ugly and I shouldn't be here. So, you know, when there's one person walking down the street and already you feel that bad, when I'm amongst loads of people, especially people that I don't know, that for me was just too much to deal with.
Did you ever talk about it to anyone? Did you ever discuss it, family member or?
No, I would hide it. I would hide it because for me, I didn't want to disappoint my family. My family did know that I was very unhappy in terms of with the way that I looked and the fact that I was very antisociable. At times, apart from school setting, I would like to keep myself to myself. And stay indoors. So they knew that they would always try and get me out. They'll try and enroll me in as many activities as possible. My mum kind of suspected that I did have some sort of eating disorder and she did try her best to control my weight and so on. But with the mental health, because like I said, it's a stigma. You don't want to tell people that, okay, you're hearing voices, because they're going to think, well, you're mad. There's something wrong with you. Oh, snap out of it. You're just being silly. Or, you know, the usual. Or, you know, and
you're so young.
You're so young.
You've got your whole future ahead of you.
You know, the usual. Or you tell the odd friend, you know, when you're young, your BFF, and you tell them, oh, you know, I feel so ugly. I just want to kill myself. No, don't worry. You've got plenty to live for. You're just being silly, and then they'll brush it over.
The reason I'm laughing is because people don't realise the extent of what a person feels when they are going through a mental health issue. When you hear sort of comments like that, for you, it's like, this is why I don't say anything, because people find it, that they just brush it off. For someone that's not going through it, they don't understand, which is why I'm so happy that we are doing this show today, to bring awareness to people that, look, if someone tells you they are going through something, it's probably taken them a lot of courage to actually open up about it. So listen to them and get some, you know, do some research for yourselves about people that are going through mental health issues that you can help them with.
Yeah,
yeah,
most definitely. And I think it was for me it was the paranoia, just thinking that everybody was looking at me and they were thinking that I was ugly and that they
which
thought
of course
that
wasn't the case.
It wasn't the case. But mind you, I think what kind of traumatized me was, I remember there was one time, I think I must have been about 12, and I was really heavy at that point. And I just had someone at random say, "Why are you so fat? Why are you so?" And so that as well did not, a complete stranger. And I think that also was another trigger for me. So it was very debilitating to my self-esteem.
So thanks very much to Jennifer again for sharing her story with us. Well, don't go away, because up next we're going to be hearing from Shad Ahmad, who also was a self-harmer and attempted, or was about to attempt, suicide on London Bridge when something happened that stopped him. So we'll see you in just a second. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, today we're focusing on past stories that we featured on the Chrissy B Show that have to do with depression, bullying and self-harm. And just before the break, we saw the story of presenter Jennifer Mensah, who had some serious mental health issues growing up. But now it's time to look back at the story of Shad Ahmad, which had to do with self-harm and his suicide attempt. Now, Shad really went through a tough time growing up and had to experience some stuff that most typical teenagers, thank goodness, don't have to experience. Let's watch this. Where did it all start for you?
It started when I was younger. So the way I grew up was, my parents came straight from their homeland, and they grew up in a very Eastern culture, a very Asian culture. And me going to school, everyone I was surrounded by was white. So there would be that clash. I would go outside, and the way the etiquettes of, for example, eating or how you should speak to people, all of these things were completely different. So I remember once, when I was younger, because of that, I got bullied a lot. So I remember once when I was younger, I wouldn't speak. I became a selective mute. I didn't speak for a good few months. Yeah, when I was in primary, when I first came, didn't speak for the first good few months. I separated myself from everyone because honestly, I didn't feel comfortable with just saying hi.
Yeah.
And the way I grew up as well was, my parents were very strict, very strict. They really wanted to hold on to their culture. They really wanted to hold on to their heritage. So there was always that clash inside of me of, outside who am I, inside who am I? And that would cause a lot of arguments. It just, as a young kid, it just became a thing of, why is this even going on? I was confused.
When you say strict, what do you mean by strict? Because a lot of parents are strict, and it's because my parents were strict. Well, my dad was. Well,
it was how I got disciplined. So, for example, like they used to get a bamboo stick, and that was basically my usual. It was a bamboo. It wasn't a bit. It was a bamboo. They would buy a bamboo stick. They would either keep it underneath the sofa, or there was one in every room, so that they could get it easily.
Wow.
And there was just. I remember there was a lot of things that happened. Like if my cousin broke something, I got it. If anyone else did anything, I got it, because I was the oldest in my family. So it was, and my dad always had this. My dad always had this thing about, you're being trained. I'm training you to be like this. I would have to eat things I didn't want to eat. If not, then I'll get bad or something like that. And honestly, I grew up I was able to eat everything but I didn't enjoy it. A lot of the time I'd eat, I just didn't enjoy it anymore. There was a lot of things I just did because I had to.
Because you were scared of the beatings.
Yeah.
And it's not like a little smack, was it? It was...
Well, at one point it was, I remember I forgot what I did. I think I went outside to go to the shop when I was young. And what my mom did was she stripped me down, tied me up with rope, put black duct tape on top of my mouth, vapor rub underneath my eyes. And that was like, I remember this was the bit where, I think now that I look back, I realized I was twisted as a kid. But I got out of it. I got out of the knot and took the thing off, went to my mom and said, look, I made it. And for me, it was a good thing. I was really rebellious, and every time my parents would beat me, I said, look, I can handle it. And at one point, honestly...
Was that like a kind of defense mechanism on your part? Or like, how were you, like, when no one could see, when your parents... How were you feeling inside? What was going through your mind? Do you remember?
I was really angry. I was really angry. I remember I was just angry. All I wanted to do was just show them that whatever they did, they couldn't hurt me. At one point, I didn't really... Honestly, it sounds strange, but as a kid, I become numb to the physical pain. So I could honestly...
What about the emotional pain?
That was madness. I would try and stay in my own room. I thought my room was safe, but it wasn't. I didn't want, when I came back from secondary or primary, I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to go home, but when I was outside, I'd be bullied.
So you weren't safe anywhere, really?
And that, honestly, I got stuck in my own world. So what I did, honestly, was I would daydream a lot. I would daydream a lot, and I would be stuck in I would have my own reality in my mind. There was this one cartoon I used to watch when I was younger, Dragon Ball Z, and I became, not obsessed with it, but for me it was just the one thing I could do without, like the one I could think. That was the one thing my parents couldn't touch, was my thought. So I could be really creative or really imaginative, think of wonderful stories.
It was like an escape feeling, wasn't it?
Have my own, I would have like my own world in my mind. And for me, and I wanted to be in that world. So then the outside was just, I was disattached from it. I became numb to the world.
That must have been very lonely for you, though, would you say?
The thing is, a lot of people say it was lonely, but to understand what lonely is, you must understand what it's like to be around people. So if you never experience what it's like to have friends, or to have like big group of people. I had a few friends, but to have a big group of people, a group at all, you don't know. To me, it was normal. This was normal for me. For me, it was acceptable. I could take it. For me, this was just fine.
Did you ever reach a point where you got really depressed?
Yes, I was self-harming. I was living in a hostel.
Hang on. Rewind. You started self-harming?
Yeah. So what happened was, I was self-harming about when I just finished my GCSEs. I was in college.
How were you self-harming?
I would get a butter knife because I couldn't find a knife. I would get a butter knife, and what I would do is, because it had jagged edges, I'll put it against my stomach and I would press against it because it couldn't cut easily, and I'd push as hard as I can to dig in.
Well, why were you doing that?
I felt released. It was like I felt like my body was a rock, and that if I did that, I would be letting out just something. I would be letting out life. So I remember I was just squeezing as hard as I can to get something to come out. And I remember I showed my dad once, like, look, this is what I'm doing because of you. I was calling for my dad's attention.
So you actually told your parents what you were doing, and what was the reaction?
Carry on. So my dad said, carry on. And
how did that make you feel when your dad said that? Was it just fuel more anger?
To be honest, I didn't care. What more can I expect? That's how honestly I thought. What more can I expect? I don't even know why I tried. I don't even know why I showed him. What more could I expect? And
so you mentioned a hostel. Did you walk out eventually?
Yeah. So there was a time when my parents went to pick up my auntie, and then I called my friend. He already knew I already prepared everything. He already knew I was gonna go, so he came over, and we got black bin bags, took everything, and just went to the hostel.
How old were you at the time?
I think I was 18.
18. Okay.
So, being 18, I was in college, and because I was smoking and stuff, £56 a week, that really hits. I mean, I was hungry a lot of the times, and then the other people in the hostels, some of them were selling drugs, some of them taking drugs, and at the beginning, they used to knock on my door to try and start fights. And me, I always felt like I have to let them know who I am. So I would always welcome whatever aggression they would put. And then afterwards, we became acquaintances, but all of them, everyone there was just suffering. I was surrounded by suffering. I was suffering, and it was like a moment of, I would say it was content. Everyone there was suffering, and we could just all, for one moment, when we were with each other, we could be away from it. But
when you say content, was it because you felt like, well, I'm not the only one that's going through issues, and at least kind of feels like I'm not by myself in these kind of problems.
Yeah, it was really like that. I mean, I remember it was kind of like it was just an unspoken rule. We don't talk about problems.
Really?
Yeah, it was that was it. Some of these guys had their sisters being shot while they were living in the hostel. Other people had their parents.
Did you want to talk about your problems, or?
I tried to. I was seeing a counselor in school. I saw a psychotherapist, or cognitive behavioralist or something.
Yeah, CBT.
In the hospital. Yeah, CBT in NHO in Royal Free, I believe. And the thing is, I was talking and talking. No changes. I mean, it was strange for me. I mean, I remember they cut me off through the hospital because I just ended up not turning up. She would call me on the phone and I was smoking weed and I just didn't care because it wasn't really, there was nothing to do. There was no input in me. I was just talking about things and they wouldn't even say anything back. It was as if I just have to relive all those moments again. And then I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to walk past it. So that, for me, it was just a waste of time. It was nice being out of class, but it was a waste of time. And it really affected my grades as well. I went from an A grade to a U in all my subjects.
Wow.
I wanted to do physics at uni. Didn't really get an opportunity to do that. Ended up failing 3 of my 4 A levels.
Shad, there was a time when you stood on London Bridge about to jump.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that time? Because things must have been
so
really bad for you to even consider that.
Basically, what happened was in my hostel, they would come visit me to take away, or when I wasn't around, they would take away all sharp objects. So I used to do is I used to crush a pen and try and cut myself with the shards of a plastic pen. And then that didn't work, so I had this pin. I still remember, it was a blue pin this small. And I was trying to cut myself, and then I thought, okay, you know what, that's that. Got my Oyster card, jumped on one of the bus, going straight down. And I just thought, I'm gonna do it. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm gonna do something. It's gonna end today or tonight. I remember I was just walking, and to be honest, I don't know how to say it. It was, hope was non-existent. So I didn't think about a better life. I didn't think that, things could be better. All I was just thinking was, I just have to do it. I was kind of like numb to the feeling that, this is, oh my God, I'm about to take my own life. No, it was just more like, I'm just gonna take my own life. I'm just gonna do this.
But Shad did manage to turn his life around. How exactly? Well, let's find out right now. So Shad, the great thing is that eventually you got help. You found a fantastic youth group that helped you, that you were able to open up. You found like-minded people that were able to understand what you were going through and had been through similar situations. Can you tell us briefly, before we get to, because briefly, what kind of help did you get that really kind of marked your life?
It was the difference between, it was more different than counselling. These guys were my friends. The people at the youth group ended up being my friends, and that's what helped the most, because counselling, you have to go to speak. But these guys, I could.
So for you, it was important to have friendship, like maybe because you didn't really have that.
And I could speak to them whenever I wanted. I could speak to them about whatever I wanted. It wasn't like I had to, sit down, talk. It was more like I was comfortable, and they were willing to, go through that long process of just slowly, step by step, making me comfortable in how I speak, and it ended up helping a lot. Then they were really supportive. To this day, I'll never forget, really supportive.
So Shad thankfully was even able to give us some very straight to the point advice right at the end there, which was great. Now, if you want to share your story, then all you have to do is fill in the form on our website, chrissybshow.tv, or let us know your thoughts or advice on this subject by being brave on tweeting us at Chrissy B Show or commenting on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you're actually still going through an issue and you need some help from us here on this show and would like to be on as a guest, then you can also get in touch. Now, after this quick little break, we move on to our next story of Anne Alagbe, who previously experienced child depression due to racial hatred. So stay tuned. Only here on The Chrissy B Show. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Hi everyone, and if you've just joined us, we're doing another special show where we get to revisit some stories that involve depression, bullying and self-harm. Just before the break, we recalled the story of Shad Ahmad, who experienced suicidal thoughts because of his very tough background. And now we're going to look back at Anne Alagbe's story of child depression. But before we go to watch it, let me just give you some information about depression. Now, depression occurs, this is according to the Young Minds charity, which is the voice for young people's mental health and well-being. Depression occurs when sad feelings do not go away and when they overwhelm a person and stop them from doing the things they normally do. It used to be thought that children and young people couldn't get depressed, but in fact they can. They may just show it in a different way to adults. Now, some of the things that cause children and young people to become depressed include parents arguing, divorce or separation of their parents, the death of someone close to them, feeling rejected or left out within the family, problems with schoolwork or exam pressure, changing school or moving home, friendship problems, physical illness in themselves or a carer, poverty or homelessness. Now, Anne experienced something else as well that led her to be depressed. So let's take a look at this. So tell us where it all began for you, Anne.
So it all started from a very young age. So I used to live in Manchester, and I went to school there, primary school, and I was the only black child in the whole of the school.
Whole of the school?
The whole of the school, I was the only black child.
Wow.
So it was very racist. The children, they were very racist. They would call me racist names. I used to live near some of them because we were mostly neighbours. They would be on their bicycles and they'll be shouting at racist names at me. And it was very hard.
Gosh.
And it was very hard for my dad. My dad would react by getting angry. He was very, very angry. So that is where it mostly started.
Did it start from the first day you went to school? Or?
Yeah.
Were you before that? Were you actually looking forward to going to school and a new experience? Or
Yeah,
were you
no, I was very happy. I used to be excited to go to school. But it's as the years progressed, as I went from year 1, year 2, children, they already start to pick up things. So they already started to pick up, oh, okay, she's kind of different. She's not like us. And then they were really racist and it was very hard.
So did you have any friends at all?
I had one friend, but she was them ones where if I was by myself, she'll be my friend. But in front of other people, she wasn't there.
Now, when you say that the kids were racist, what kind of things did they used to do or say to you?
So it was mostly calling me names. I used to feel I'm rejected as well. Because already I was a very shy person. I was very, very shy. So to speak to people was very difficult. So I would feel left out, rejected. And it was mostly me being away from the crowd. So if they would be in a crowd, I would be by myself kind of thing.
How did that used to make you feel, Anne?
It was really, really bad. That gave way to so many complexes. I had so many deep complexes about myself and I was so young.
Like what?
I thought I was ugly. My biggest complex was my looks. That was my massive complex. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror.
Because of what the kids had said to you? And how old were you at this time?
I was 6. I was
6
very,
years old
very young,
and you didn't want to look at yourself in the mirror?
I thought I was ugly. I started to develop weight problems because I'm already quite slim. I'm a type of person where I don't put on weight, so I can only lose weight. And I noticed that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's even deeper. I developed weight problems.
No, I'm saying that would be such a great thing for most people.
So many people so many
but for you, it was
very difficult. So I would starve myself. I wouldn't eat on purpose because that was a relief, for me.
So hang on, you said you would starve yourself.
Yeah.
For what?
Just to lose weight, so I could be skinny.
So you couldn't lose weight normally, but you weren't overweight, you said?
No, I was very slim, but I lose weight easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
But why were you starving yourself if you were already
Because I thought I was fat, but I wasn't fat, but in my mind I was. So all of the bullying just led way to so many unnecessary complexes kind of things. So my looks, that was the major one. My weight, even though I was very skinny for my age, but I still, in my mind, I still thought I was big. So I would
But would the kids tell you you were big?
It was just all of that built up from like the racist comments. My mind, because
it's like you were trying to find more things, like why are they bullying me? Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because if they'd never mentioned you, for example, if someone had said you're fat, that kind of makes sense that you would try. But if no one did and you still thought you were fat, even though you're really slim, that shows how much it affected you mentally.
It affected me very, very bad. Like not eating. I would self-harm as well.
Really?
Yes. Because,
at what age?
The self-harming started at 8 years old.
What did you used to do?
So I would slit my wrists because I would always have my own room. I always had my own room. So whenever I was going to self-harm, I would just lock myself in my room.
Where did you learn about that? Did you see that anywhere, or was it just something that you would...
No, it's just something I did.
But why? What was it that you would... if you remember that?
Yeah, no, because I had no one to speak to.
Yeah.
So it's like I had so much pain inside of me, but I couldn't open up to anybody. So my way of relieving the pain was inflicting more pain on myself.
In a physical way?
Yeah,
so
in a more physical way.
You could like sort of, in a sense, maybe you're thinking that that's going to relieve the emotional pain that you're going through.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you self-harming for?
Like a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at school, when all of this was going on, did the teachers notice anything?
Yes.
What happened?
The teachers, because I was very quiet. I was a very strange child. Like, if you saw me, you would notice there was something wrong. Because...
You weren't strange, you were just going through a lot of problems.
Yeah, I was just going through a lot of problems, but they knew that. But they just didn't know what, because I didn't speak. So I had counsellors. I didn't know there were counsellors because I've never seen them before, but I had counsellors, like child counsellors come in and like speak to me, but I wouldn't open up. I wouldn't open up to them.
Why wouldn't you talk?
Because I suffered in silence and I just thought I would just remain in silence. Like,
were you afraid
no point.
to kind of...
I was afraid, and also I just didn't see the point because I didn't really think anyone could help me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you think maybe that you'd get into more trouble with the other kids if you said anything?
Yeah, because the teachers knew about the racism, but it's like they didn't really do much to help me. So they knew,
that's
like...
shocking, that is.
Yeah.
That's really shocking.
They knew, like, they saw, but they didn't really do much.
Yeah, because all adults, any adult has a responsibility towards any child that they see, is going through a hard time. That's terrible. Now, Anne, how did things progress as you got older? Because... did the bullying stop at some point, and then, but did your feelings and emotions continue, the mental effects? Yeah.
So the bullying stopped at year 7. So I came to London when I was 8. So I started to live permanently here, and I went to secondary school here, and like it continued into secondary school, but it stopped halfway because then I decided, okay, no, I'm not going to be bullied anymore. So I would hang around with like the wrong crowd.
Okay, to kind of protect yourself.
Yeah, to protect myself. Even though like the crowd I was hanging around with wasn't helping because we would all gossip about each other kind of thing. So it's like, it still continued because there was still...
So like toxic friends, basically.
Yeah, basically toxic friends. So I hung around with the wrong crowd, and even though the bullying stopped, the inner conflict didn't.
Okay.
So like, it's like the insecurities deepened. So the things with my weight, it deepened even more to the point people would say to me, Anne, you look ill. Because I would lose so much weight, and people say, Anne, you look ill, like you need to put on weight.
Were you ever diagnosed with an eating disorder?
No, I wasn't, because I never told anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't tell anybody. And so the things with my looks continued as well. I still couldn't stand the way I looked. And like, I couldn't speak to people. Like the shyness continued.
Okay, now I know, Anne, you eventually got help for your issues. You found the charity and help centre, which had a youth group as well, which you joined, and you got a lot of help and support. You're finally able to open up. You also received spiritual help as well. So at this stage now, how do you feel about yourself, and is the past still affecting you?
At this stage, I'm completely different. Like, I no longer have complexes about myself, the way I look, or like any problems like eating or anything like that. Do you know
you're gorgeous?
Thank you.
Do you see that now?
Yeah. Okay. But my past is my past. It doesn't affect me anymore at all. Like, all the people that hurt me and stuff, I don't feel any resentment against them or anything like that, because people bully for a reason. Nobody wakes up one day and says, oh, I'm going to bully this person. It's all for a reason. So it's like, my past, I just use it to help other people. I'm not going to use it like to weigh me down. It did for a while, but as I continued to come and stuff, I finally was able to let go.
Okay. And what did it feel like during your recovery and actually feeling so different about yourself? What was that like?
It was very hard. Like when I first came like to receive help, because of all that I'd been through, I still had that with me. So I would think, oh no, especially in the youth group, oh no, these people don't like me because I suffered that before.
Oh, so they were obviously very friendly towards you.
Yeah, they were very friendly, but still I had in my mind, no, they don't like me. Like, oh, I was very paranoid. That's one problem I had.
Yeah.
But I started to see, okay, no, these people actually do care and they're able to help. So it was very nice because I was finally able to open up to somebody, which I never did. I had an advisor that was helping me, and like I would open up to him and stuff, and like he would advise me, telling me that, you know, I can, like, my past is my past, and the youth group, the youths are there for me and stuff.
Well, just like all of our stories we've looked back on till now, Anne's story didn't end negatively, but positively instead. Well, don't go away, because after the break, we'll be sharing with you our final real life story. So make sure you don't miss it. See you in just a second. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Hello everyone, and if you've just joined us, tonight has been all about revisiting stories that had to do with self-harm, bullying and depression. And talking about self-harming, people who do it are in extreme emotional distress, often stemming from low self-worth, which could be brought on by all sorts of reasons, and they feel that hurting themselves is the only way they can cope. Now, according to the Royal College of Psychiatrists, 1 in 10 people self-harm by taking tablets, cutting, burning, piercing or swallowing objects. It's more common in young people, women, gay and bisexual people, and in some subcultures. Some people self-harm regularly and it can become an addiction. Just like our final story for you tonight, we'll take a look back at the time when I met Charolotte O'Reilly. Let's watch this. So Charlotte, let's go to your story. Can you tell us where it all began, first of all?
I just turned 13 and my dad committed suicide. And
what was your relationship like with your dad before that?
We were really close.
Okay.
He'd come to me, talk to me about like all sorts of problems he had, even though he knew I didn't really understand what was going on. He'd still, it was almost as like he had no one else to talk to, so he came to me.
Okay.
It was nice, it was really nice. And he has other children as well. I was his oldest. And he adored them, he really did. So, he died January 31st.
How long ago was this?
It was 9 years ago.
9 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
But that obviously affected you really, it hit you like a bomb,
well,
really.
At first, nobody would tell me what he'd actually done. He just told me he fell asleep, and then I found out and I thought it was my fault, because I thought...
Really?
Yeah. I just thought I should have been there. Him and my mum were separated, they weren't living together. So I thought, well, maybe if I'd lived with him instead of living with my mum, then I could have stopped him from doing it. He would have been happier and he wouldn't have got so down.
But you do know afterwards that it wasn't.
I do know now,
okay.
yeah. It took me a while
say,
to...
But I mean, I can understand the, thinking that way, because it's like you kind of, anything that happens to a family member of ours, there's always lots of guilt that comes with anyone, isn't it? You think, oh, what if this happened? What if I was there more? And you have all these like what ifs, but at the end of the day, it's not anyone's fault.
No.
Yeah.
It did take me a long time to realise that, but I know now.
So what was he going through issues himself, obviously, like,
He'd suffered depression years.
for years, right?
Yeah, since I was like really small.
Mm.
And he was getting help about 2 weeks before he died. He'd been referred to a mental health team to try and put him on tablets. I think he did get put on the tablets, like antidepressants, and to try and get some therapy of some sort. And he was on a waiting list. The waiting list was roughly about 10 weeks, and it was too much of a wait. It was too long, and he didn't make it.
So after that happened, Charlotte, how did that affect you? Obviously, you feeling guilty and blaming yourself. What did that lead to?
A lot of anger. As I was arguing with most people around me. I got into an argument with my cousin, and as we were talking, as we were arguing, I just started scratching myself without, I wasn't thinking about it, I just did it.
In your arms?
Yeah. And then after I'd done it, I saw it and I thought, well, that felt good, that calmed me down a lot. So every time I was feeling angry and I didn't know how to let it out, I'd cut or I'd scratch, and it
say cut, would you use like
but I'd scratch it
or
first, so it's just my nails, which was really bad. It got infected a lot. And then it moved to razors, and I'd use razors to cut.
Did you tell anyone about this, that you're doing it, or were you
For the first couple of
hiding?
months, I did hide it. I was petrified that I was going to get told off. My mum was going to say I was doing it for attention. She was going to be disappointed in me, and I didn't want to put any more hurt onto her, especially after my dad. So I hid it. I'd wear long sleeve tops. And then one day my auntie she knew that I wasn't myself. So she asked me what was going on, and I told her. And she convinced me to tell my mum. And my mum was really supportive about it. She was brilliant. She got me through most of it. My mum finally knew about it, and I wasn't having to hide it from her anymore. So I was locking myself in my bedroom. I didn't want to be around anybody. I just isolated myself from my friends as well. And
how often did you used to do it?
pretty much every day.
Really?
Yeah, it did become an addiction. And it was extremely hard to break out of, very hard.
Did it progress to anything else, or was it mainly the scratching and the cutting?
No, it progressed to burning. If I was getting ready for school, I didn't have access to razors then. My mum had taken all that sort of stuff away, so I couldn't do it. She was trying to stop me. So I had my straighteners, and I'd burn with them when I was getting ready for school most times. And she thought I was getting ready, so I'd just do it quickly. It was like, it got past the point of needing to have a reason. I just
got into the habit of doing it, kind of thing.
It was just like, oh, I need to feel it. And it wasn't like, I wasn't angry, I just wanted to feel the feeling it gave me.
For people that are watching now that don't understand, the reason behind it, and are thinking, look, why would anyone do that to themselves? Can you just explain what would go on in your head, and how you were feeling at the time, how you're feeling like it was actually helping you? Because that's what people think, that do self-harm. It's like, it's the only way I know how to cope. Can you just talk us through it?
Yeah, it's when I was angry, I felt like this pressure inside my body. My whole body it felt like if it didn't do something, it was gonna explode.
Right.
And the only way I could get this pressure out of my body was to cut and release it out.
Okay.
It's like, do you know when you're really angry and you just want to hit something? It's like that, but you cut and you need to see it. You need to physically see.
And then you feel relief.
Yeah,
afterwards.
not for long. Probably for 5-10 minutes, and then guilt kick in.
Guilt of what you've done to yourself?
And how people are going to react around me.
And what about the pain that you'd actually feel from the hurt?
I didn't feel it.
Not even afterwards?
Afterwards I did, yeah. While I was doing it, I didn't feel it. It was...
Really?
It didn't hurt. It was a good feeling because it was release. And I couldn't feel the pain until afterwards, and it stung. It was horrible, it really stung. And there's a lot of after treatment you need to do with it as well.
Yeah.
When I was 16, my mum got me hospitalised because I started trying to commit suicide. I was seeing things, hearing things that were telling me to cut, telling me to hurt myself, that I didn't deserve to be here.
When you say things, what was it you were
I saw
actually seeing physical?
Yeah, I saw a man, and he was dressed as a butcher, and he would tell me that if I didn't hurt myself, he'd hurt me a lot worse than I ever could. Does that make sense?
Was this when you were by yourself, or were there other people around at this?
It was mainly
stage?
when I was by myself,
Okay.
but I didn't want
That
to
must
be.
have been really frightening.
Yeah, I didn't want to be around other people, so I sort of
Yeah.
made it worse myself. But I couldn't do it. I pushed everybody away from me in school. I pushed my family away from me. I pushed my friends away from me. So I was literally on my own. My mum was the only person there that would really support me. So I was hospitalised for 4 weeks, and it was brilliant. It was helpful.
To be hospitalised.
Yeah, yeah.
Why'd you say that? Because most people feel like, oh my god, I don't want to like.
It's scary, the thought of being in there, but you've got somebody to talk to 24/7 that will fully listen to you and help you as much as they can. They really, and there's people in there as well for the same reasons as I was, and it was comforting knowing that I wasn't the only one going through it.
Yeah.
So I got out for about a month, 2 months, and had to go back in for 2 weeks.
Did you try again?
Yeah, I tried again.
How many times did you try altogether?
I couldn't tell you, really. Couldn't. It was countless times.
Now, when you say, when you were trying to kill yourself, was it because you thought, look, there's no way I'm going to get over this, and I'm not going to get help? What was the reason?
There was several reasons. One reason, it wasn't to kill myself, it was to get rid of the pain. Like a few paracetamol wouldn't do it, so I'd just take 3 boxes of paracetamol.
The pain of having hurt yourself, you mean,
no,
or
just
just the emotional
it
pain?
Just hurt. Yeah, like the tightening in your stomach, the anxiety. Because I couldn't see a way out, I thought I was going to be like this forever. I thought about my future, and it was blank. I thought I wasn't clever enough to do something good with my life. I thought, well, I've pushed all my friends away, I've got nobody now. Nobody will really care. I've upset my mum too much. I'm hurting her every day. So it'll be better for her if I'm just gone.
Which is not the case.
No,
right?
not at all.
Let's make that, for people that are watching that. These are the kind of thoughts. People are going to be better off without me. I'm causing so much trouble. I'm causing so much worry. So they'll be better off without me. Trust me, they're not going to feel better when you're not around.
Not at all.
They will not. They'll feel worse. So don't. If that thought is coming to you, you are loved by your family. You are loved by your friends. And trust me, they're going to feel a lot worse if you're not around. So
yeah, it broke my mum's heart hearing me say that to her.
Yeah.
There was a time where I told her to just end it for me and get it over and done with.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
That was at my worst point. I moved out with my mum's when I was 18 and moved in with an ex-boyfriend who was very controlling.
Just say he played on the fact that you were vulnerable.
Yeah. He'd hurt me physically and mentally. And one day it all got too much. I ran into the kitchen and I went to cut, and because I was doing it so quick, and because when I did cut I couldn't really feel the pain, I did it too deep. And
Did it too deep?
Yeah. And I cut through my muscle.
Oh, gosh.
I had to go to the hospital, and they told me I was lucky that I could still use my hand, because I was really close to cutting through like tendons and whatnot. So I had to have stitches inside my arm, outside my arm, and I've still not got my feeling back.
Really?
I've damaged.
Which
it's this arm.
Okay.
I still can't feel the bottom half of my arm, so the nerve damage. So it's like you feel like you're in control, but really it's so easy to go wrong.
Well, it must have been really difficult for Charlotte to talk about her experiences, and hopefully she's doing much, much better now. Now, again, I've said this many times before, but it's really not easy to get up here and relive your darkest memories on national television. But they all did it for all of us to get talking about mental health issues and end the stigma, because people do find it hard to talk about issues that they're going through. And actually, we'll be doing a series of these best real life stories because we can't fit all of them in one show, obviously, so do look out for them. Now remember, if you have a story to tell us, an experience to share to help educate, inspire and motivate, do get in touch on the details below. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or comment on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the show and learnt something too today. Till next time, bye-bye for now. I'm ready. Also, we recall Shad Ahmad's past. Can I start again? Sorry. Don't go away, because up next we'll be. I didn't have it ready. Sorry. Who experienced suicidal thoughts because of his very tough background. Go away, because after this break we'll share with you our final